The trouble didn't begin in the garage. It started the day the HOA decided my very existence was a problem. Miriam Cole, the self-appointed queen of the board, carried a grudge the size of Texas against me from the moment I moved in. My property was squared away, lawn trimmed, driveway spotless, flags folded sharp enough to cut glass. What she couldn't stomach was my garage, or more specifically, what I kept inside it. Before we get into that, drop a comment with the country you're watching from. I want to see how far this story reaches. By trade, I'm an Army commander. Discipline, preparation, and redundancy are second nature to me. So when Miriam's letters arrived, polite but dripping with passive aggression, reminders that community standards apply to all residents, I shrugged them off as HOA pettiness. But then came the fines. A parking citation I never received notice for, a storage violation for my closed garage, and warnings about unapproved items visible from the street. Each letter carried the same veiled message. We don't want trouble, but we'll make life hard for you. I reported the harassment, documented every envelope, every date. Then one morning I found my windshield smashed, 2 tires slashed, and a crude note that read, "Next time we take more." I uploaded porch cam footage and handed it to the sheriff. His warning was blunt. Bullies escalate if unchecked. Keep the cameras rolling. When I mentioned Miriam's name, neighbors shifted uneasily. A few offered quiet sympathy. Most lowered their voices. "Board has clout," one man muttered. A retired teacher whispered, "Miriam likes to keep the place tidy." That was code for don't stir the pot. But I wasn't playing vigilante. I reinforced security, extra motion lights, upgraded cameras with cloud backups, and private property signs around the perimeter. I told my daughter to stay sharp and call the sheriff if anyone came pretending to be board enforcement. She rolled her eyes, but she understood. The air in the neighborhood changed, subtle, watchful. Miriam began showing up at gatherings with a clipboard and a smug new authority. Small gripes turned into written warnings. At the next HOA meeting, I laid out the police report, time-stamped photos, and evidence. Miriam only smiled. "We're concerned about community safety," she said. "You're making enemies." That phrase was her weapon. So I prepared. I called Marcus, an old friend from my unit, now a contractor who still slept with a rifle under his bed. Not because I expected a firefight, but because some threats require trusted eyes. Together we checked every camera, adjusted angles, tested blind spots. Marcus insisted on a hidden feed on the garage door and another on the alley. We joked about living in a spy thriller because the alternative was letting paranoia win. I thought vigilance would be enough. I was wrong. Marcus and I were in the kitchen reviewing feeds when a dull thunk echoed from the garage, like someone forcing the door. I froze, eyes darting to the monitor. 4 men moved with purpose, reflective vests flashing in the glow, shadows pooling at the lip of my garage. Without hesitation, I climbed the stairs, opened the small safe, and pulled out 2 service pistols I'd kept for emergencies. I checked them with muscle memory precision, sliding one into my hand, hiding it at the small of my back. Marcus caught my eye, gave one nod. No words needed. We descended together, every step deliberate. The metallic screech of a pry bar gnawed at steel. Muffled voices followed. "Check the racks." "Commander keeps unregistered weapons." "HOA wants them confiscated." My jaw locked. Miriam had escalated from fines to staging a raid. And these weren't kids messing around. Their movements were coordinated, sharp. 4 men in reflective vests stenciled with HOA cop in bold letters, cheap badges hanging from lanyards. But their hands gripped crowbars and bolt cutters with the confidence of men who'd done this before. Marcus leaned in, voice low. "They're set for smash and grab. They want your arsenal." My response was quiet steel. "They're not touching a damn thing." I cleared my throat, stepped into the doorway. "Afternoon, gentlemen." They froze. The light chain creaked above. My pistol stayed low, hidden, but I felt its weight grounding me. Marcus needed no weapon. His presence was enough. The tallest of the crew puffed his chest, jabbing a clipboard like a sword. "Sir, this is official HOA business. Complaints about hazardous materials. You're required to comply." I tilted my head, voice sharp. "Hazardous materials? This is my private garage." "You broke in, that's a felony." He smirked weakly. "We're authorized." Marcus barked a laugh. "Authorized by who, Miriam?" "You clowns have 0 jurisdiction." That hit. One of them shifted, uneasy, glancing toward their SUV outside. They hadn't expected resistance, not from me, not with Marcus standing at my side. My voice cut like glass. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to explain why you thought breaking into my garage was smart. And you'll do it standing still. If any of you twitch, I'll call it self-defense. The smallest one snapped, lunging with cheap cuffs like he thought he'd score a citizen's arrest. Bad move, training took over. I sidestepped, twisted his wrist, and drove him face first into the concrete. The cuffs clattered across the floor. Marcus slammed another into the tool bench, pegboard rattling. The last two lost their nerve, then lunged anyway, a desperate charge. We split like clockwork. I hammered one with a forearm to the jaw, swept his leg, and dropped him flat. Marcus shoulder through the other, elbow to the ribs, folding him over. 4 down, their swagger gone, gasping on the floor. I pressed my pistol into the concrete beside one's head. The metallic clink froze him. Impersonating law enforcement is a federal crime. Title 18 U.S. Code, Section 912. Breaking and entering? State felony. Add attempted assault and you're all taking the long ride downtown. The leader stammered. We were just following orders. Miriam said you were a threat. There it was. Miriam Cole. Not satisfied with fines, she had escalated to sending in muscle. I holstered the pistol, but my tone stayed sharp. Marcus, call it in. Let's get real uniforms here. Sirens wailed in the distance. They twitched, considering escape, but I wasn't letting them slip. Not this time. The fight ended as fast as it started. When the deputies stormed the garage, the 4 fake HOA cops were on the ground, cuffed and groaning. My cameras had caught everything, from the break-in to the takedown. I handed deputies the footage, plus the bogus fines and letters Miriam had shoved under my door. The charges piled quick: impersonating officers, attempted burglary, conspiracy to commit theft. Because one swung a crowbar, they added armed criminal trespass, felony time. Under questioning, the cracks showed. One broke first. Yeah, we slashed his tires. Miriam told us to. Another added, the windshield too. She said it'd scare him off. That confession sealed the vandalism charges. Their phones gave investigators the rest. The texts traced straight back to Miriam. She orchestrated the whole thing, step by step, even down to ordering them to seize my property. The neighborhood turned on her fast. People admitted they'd been targeted too, fined for lawn gnomes, bikes in driveways, fences she didn't like. My case was the ugliest, but not the only one. I filed a civil suit. Property damage, harassment, punitive damages. My attorney demanded $125,000 plus fees. The insurer settled for $100,000 in full reimbursement. Miriam herself was ordered to pay $15,000 personally. In criminal court, the 4 imposters pled guilty: trespass, impersonation, vandalism, attempted theft. Probation, fines, permanent records. Miriam pled guilty to harassment and conspiracy. She lost her position, was banned from HOA roles in the county, fined $10,000. When it ended, I stood in my garage with Marcus, looking at the arsenal they'd tried to steal. The walls felt heavier but safer. Neighbors who once looked away now shook my hand, thanking me for standing up. The HOA was gutted, rebuilt with oversight. They thought they could storm my life and take what they wanted. They didn't realize I was an army commander.